The Mets' top of the order needs to get it done. The top of the line, the last 4 games, they haven't been hitting on all cylinders. You can see what they're doing. Curtis, runners in scoring position, non-existent.
You know, it's interesting because you have so much star power up there. Their top 4 for tonight all have $100 million contracts. So is it a situation where you have big matchups? You just did the Subway Series. You just had a big series against the Cubs coming to your ballpark, possibly one of the best teams in the National Leagues, and you're getting good games, and all of a sudden things pull back. You start to put a little pressure on yourself, like not only do I want to play well for myself, but I want to play well for this team and live up to the hype of the contract. I don't know if any of that is starting to creep in there, but like you said, the top 4 is what makes this team go, and they have to get it going.
And they need to catch up to the pitching. We'll talk about that in the next segment. But, Pedro, let me ask you about what Curtis was just saying with Juan Soto. I mean, he's got a lot. With a lot given, a lot is expected. $765 million, $75 million signing bonus this year. He's making $121. He may have the bag, but he's got to get the bag going.
But you know what? It's such a bad disease that we always bring up the money he's making. Ohtani is making pretty much the same amount of money. Nobody hated as much. I feel, and this is me, I'm accountable for this. Nobody hated as much the money Ohtani was making as they are doing with Juan Soto. And Juan Soto is not starting like horrible. He's done some of the stuff he needs to do. Now, nobody has a stop to ever think if Juan Soto is going through anything personal. Was there anything that made him probably run away from wearing the mic, from probably talking to the media? Was there anything personal that probably bothered the man inside the uniform? Because I was once the best paid player in the game. And it took me a while to adjust to my team, adjust to the media. I was coming from Montreal. There was a lot of attention on me. There was a lot of stuff that I needed to deal with until I finally made the adjustment. And this is an adjustment year for Soto, even though he went from the Bronx to Queens. It's an adjustment year. But nobody's stopping to think about the human inside the uniform. And there are some stuff that can get your mind distracted. There's no way a guy like Soto goes from D to Z in one night. Something probably bothered him. Something was not right. Something is not clicking for him. May have been the series. He paid too much attention to what was going on, what was said about him and the Yankees and all that. Probably got caught up. We forget how young Juan Soto is. And I know that comes with the bat.
But you can expect him not to hit 1,000. That's okay. But what you can expect, or what you would hope for, J-Roll, is the effort. And I think that's what people have been criticizing him for, particularly the last couple of games, the not hustling.
100%. And, you know, when everything is going well for you, you get away with cruising. And I was a guy that, you know, they complained a lot about that I didn't go hard after every play. My job was to stay on the field, but the intent to win was always there. I always put my team in a position to win. When something was called for, I did my best to go about it. And I understood once I went from batting first to third, what it looks like when the guys in front of you aren't going hard. It kind of sets the tone for the team. So when you have your star player, regardless if he's the highest paid player in the game or not, your star player taking plays off, everyone sees that, and it doesn't feel well. When you're losing, things get amplified. We know that. And yes, I mean, they've lost 3 out of the last 4. Talking about the struggles of runs in scoring position, but it's the attitude, it's his demeanor. Right now, it doesn't really seem like he's showing a lot of fight. If he was showing fight and going through this, people will find the way, your teammates find a way to pick you up. But when you're going out there and you're just kind of going 50 to 60%, everybody says, hey, bro.
Well, hustling has no slump. Effort has no slump. And I totally agree with you on that. But at the same time, you don't know. Is he totally healthy? What's going on? Only the Mets can explain that. And the manager will be a good person to ask.
But he can do it himself, though, Pedro. He's still bringing a lot of this upon himself. If you go hard on not even every play, because I can't say I was a
Listen,
model
Jimmy,
example, but
you go to
have
Fenway.
to go harder on
I
some
made a
plays than he
living.
has now.
I made a living in Fenway, and if you misjudge the Green Monster in Fenway, and you think you got a homer when you just see the ball up in the air, you're wrong. If the wind is going around in Boston or it's coming a little bit further, you don't have a homer unless you really hit that ball.
And that's the point. Why didn't he run?
Lack of experience about Fenway Park.
No.
But it should have been hustling from the first time he hit the ball.
There you go.
Yes. It wasn't just the home run that he missed. He also didn't run out that ground ball in a tie ball game. And I think that's what people are kind of criticizing about Curtis. You played in New York. You don't want to end up on the back page of the New York Post. But you said that maybe we should ask the manager. And, of course, he was asked about the perceived lack of hustle after the games.
We'll talk to him about it. Someone gets a hold of one and knows when he gets it, he's won. He thought he had it with the win and all that. And in this ballpark, or anywhere, but in particular in this one, with that wall right there, you got to get out of the box.
Last couple of nights, you've had a couple of plays where you were slow getting out of the box. Is that something you have to be more aware of?
No, I think being hustling very hard. If you see it today, you could tell. We're going to have up and downs. You just got to keep our chin up, and it's a game of failure. Sometimes you're going to fail, and you just got to keep moving forward.
Curtis, the point is that Pedro made is that we shouldn't attribute the criticism to the contract. But unfortunately, we are fallible folk, and we're going to do that. What do you take away from the lack of what he said?
Well, I think it's interesting because Pedro talked about the Ohtani contract. I think some of that weighed into the decision. Does Ohtani go east? Or do you stay west? The West Coast media is completely different than the East Coast media.
Very much
They
so.
were going to put you on the paper like we talked
Curtis.
about, right? So I can go ahead and struggle a little bit out west, and you got to deal with everything else, and you may not even be the top headline. Not in New York, not with New York sports, and that's the tough part there. The biggest thing is just don't give them a reason, whatever it is. Like Jimmy said, if you're struggling and you're not hustling, or you're struggling, not hustling, and not hustling again, now they got something to come at you. We're all going to make a mistake one time out of the box. Maybe we didn't see it well. Maybe we thought we got the ball in Fenway and it didn't get out. But if you have one against the Subway Series, all eyes on you. One against the Red Sox in Fenway. Now that just brings even more attention to you.